Hello, Sagittarius. Welcome to the Plaid Sheep Oracle. The readings the last several days have been kind of going off the edge of the map. And so it is with you, Sagittarius. We start with this Four of Earth, and it's about the going into this stone circle, about completely committing to this alternative world, to an alternative self, perhaps, to this mystical, spiritual, and yet very bound up in earth and other human beings journey. So the Seven of Fire card has been coming out a lot. This, I want to say, fearlessness in approaching all kinds of difficulties. It's so interesting. I've just started reading, and there is a knocking, hammering happening from 2 floors below where they were doing some repairs. And it just started with your reading. I don't know how audible it will be. I'm going to do a little background noise reduction. But it feels like, right, like, have there been distractions? Has there been noise? Or possibly has something been knocking? Knocking to get your attention. But the Seven of Fire, this courage and exuberance, here also the Queen of Fire is below. To enter into what might be really difficult circumstances. You are being invited, called into difficult circumstances, into something very challenging. And I think you're reluctant to go. We have below below these 2 fiery cards, we have the Four of Earth. And she's right, she's there, she's crouched, she's unmoving, and she's kind of staring down and away, or she doesn't want to look up. Now at the bottom of the deck, we have the Hierophant. So there is strength, personal authority, particularly personal spiritual authority, that is available. But I think you feel like you've been having fun. That maybe recently life has been really sort of lighthearted. That you felt very free, that you've been having a lot of fun, that you've been, perhaps been making new friends. And it's just felt very, right? It's just very nice, right? And fun and happy, and right, playing games and, just generally having fun. But the call is to something different, something more challenging. And here the spiders are coming back. They were in Scorpio's reading yesterday. The spider was in Scorpio's reading. And now continuing on, and here with a somewhat different message, here with a challenge to enter into a mental space that perhaps you haven't been in before. With this Seven of Air, I want to say that you have been avoiding I don't want to say avoiding getting involved exactly, but maybe involved in a vulnerable way, right? Where you really join in. So I was just actually thinking this morning that Sagittarius is a group transpersonal sign. You know, often about teaching, as well as learning, but you know, perhaps even learning in groups. But Sagittarius can have this lone, right? The lone hunter, the lone knight, kind of going on, right? Fire signs, I think, can have difficulties with commitment, right? With coming to earth. I think air signs have this too, a little bit, perhaps. Or maybe it's really more mutable signs in some ways. Where there's, right, you always kind of have one foot outside. You perhaps stand on the periphery, not really getting involved, maybe. And there's something today too, this morning is very chilly here. And I'm really feeling it more perhaps than I have. I don't know if it is, I don't think it's significantly colder than it was the day before, only a few degrees, but somehow I'm feeling it more. Right? Being out in the cold, perhaps. And you're now beginning to feel it. And so we have the Ace of Air. And here the commitment to something, right? Taking up the staff, becoming really involved in something. I don't want to call it picking a side because it's not that. Right? It's kind of not about that. But it's about really joining in, having skin in the game. So with this 10 of Cups here, I think that your reluctance is based on the fact that everything's been going really well. Right? Or at least it appears to be going really well. That you've been having a good time. You've been enjoying yourself. Life has been lighthearted. But I think that now you are beginning to feel the lack of something. Here with this kind of sad looking King of Cups. Right? He looks like he could be a little dejected, right? Like he's outside the party. I mean, he's been there, but he kind of moves along the periphery. And now that's not feeling so good anymore. At the bottom of this deck, we have transformation, death, the world, endings and new beginnings. And also with this card, a kind of, right, a revelation. She's lowering this piece of fabric, right? She's revealing. So there's revelation. And then there's this sacrifice card. And it is true that when we really get involved with people, we may be sacrificing some peace of mind, some level of equanimity. I think probably the best example is having a child. I mean, I am not a parent, but I have observed it in many people, and I can see that to have a child is incredibly vulnerable. But also now, right, you really have skin in the game. You are involved. And so you sacrifice, you give up perhaps a certain level of equanimity or a certain level of being able to not care, right? You know, in very simple terms, maybe, you know, you've had a long day, you come home, you just have a bowl of cereal for dinner. But if you have children, they need something else, right? You can't, you know, or you can't decide, you know, on a whim to, you know, suddenly go out to dinner after work, or to stay late at work, or to, you know, pick up and, you know, take a sudden trip on a day, because there's these other beings that depend on you and whose life you're intertwined with. That there is, right, there is some sacrifice in that. And Sagittarius certainly is an energy that likes to pick up and go, that likes to, you know, do its own thing. It is interested certainly in community and in interacting with people. There can be with Sagittarius a my way or the highway kind of energy sometimes. Just do it. And this is asking you to sacrifice the ability to do some of that. And we have, right, the 10 of Staves, 10 of Wands with this sunset. Sometimes it looks like sunrise, but today it looks like sunset, right? The sun is setting on a certain period of your life. And then we have the moon, and it's interesting, this particular moon card, where the moon itself doesn't figure, but you do have this character of Diana, the huntress. So who are you hunting for? I mean, in the sense of, you know, or when you go out and you bring down the stag, is it just you that you're doing that for? Right? Who, you know, what is your target now to loose your arrow? Is your target related only to your needs and desires? Or can you incorporate the needs and desires of another or others? And this doesn't necessarily have to be relational. It can be work related. You know, it could be the direction that you take your business, or your, you know, the department that you work in. And, you know, maybe you're used to working alone, and now there's the possibility that you're going to get a team. And so then we have this great fortune card, with Lakshmi. Right? The possibility of, wonderful things. But there is a risk. And there is something that you give up. And it may be here with this Five of Pentacles that it's really feeling very difficult. That this sacrifice is feeling like something you really, right? Like it's feeling really tough. That it feels like something really, like you're gonna have a really hard time with this sacrifice that you need to make, with what you need to release. And actually, at the bottom of this deck, there's this Five of Water. So, how are you looking at it? Right? This is really a card of perspective. Right? Are you seeing just all the ways that this is going to be annoying and irritating? Or are you choosing to look at all the ways that this is going to be great? I actually have a sort of an example of this in my own existence. Oh, and interestingly, actually, the next card underneath is the Offering, which is sort of the Hanged Man energy in this deck. Which is this Kuan Yin card at the bottom of this deck, right? And here, right, as an offering, making an offering. But some years ago, I had pets. I had cats for many years. And then the cat I had passed away. And I didn't adopt another one. And I went 7 years without a cat until just a couple of months ago. And it was an impulse. And there were reasons and sort of synchronous things. But I did ask myself, what am I doing, right? I'd gotten really used to being able to just, spend the night somewhere else if I wanted to, right? Or be gone, all day, deep into the night, so that I didn't have a reason to be here. If I went on vacation, my friend just needed to come once a week to water my plants. I didn't have to think about that. But now I do. And I wondered, why was I doing this? When I'd kind of really been enjoying that ability. But so do I focus on what I've given up? Or at least what I think I've given up? Or do I focus on what I've gained in this new companion, this new friend, this new being that's entered my life? All right, so what is that for you? Right, and then we have protection. And it may be that right, the other thing about singularity, about staying outside of something, about not having skin in the game, is that you are protected in a way, right? If you're not vulnerable, if you haven't made yourself vulnerable by engaging fully, that's a kind of protection. Below that, we have this leadership card. And, I think that you can't really lead if you don't have that skin in the game. I think that you have to be in there with the people that you are leading. that you have to share all those same risks in order to really lead effectively. Now at the bottom of this deck we have this expansion paired with uncertainty. And these, I'm going to say that these pretty much always go together. Because in order to expand, you have to enter into the unknown. Right? That is the way of growth. And the growth is not necessarily neat and tidy and predictable. Right? These mushrooms are kind of growing all over her body. She's not really in control of where they sprout and how they grow and what shape they become. I mean, she has influence, but there is, right, there is also, right, this element of uncertainty in growth and how it's going to turn out when you go off the map. And with this healing card, this feels really more like a kind of liminal space that you are in now. Right? This feels like you on the other side of this bear. And right, this bear who's kind of been your protection, this separateness, this space that is now feeling cold, like you're out in the cold. You know, that's also, it's making me think, right, it's a spy term, right? That's a John le Carré book, The Spy Who Came In From the Cold. Right? When an agent is out in the cold, it means they're unsupported, they're on their own. They don't have all of the resources of their organization. So although you've been, right, you may have been having a really good time, you have been separated from a whole bunch of resources because you have chosen to stay on the outside. But now you can come to the bonfire and get warm. Transmutation, change. I think you are ready, Sagittarius, to come in from the cold, to come and warm yourself at the communal fire. Maybe to acknowledge that you need this warmth. Perhaps that's been part of it, that you haven't wanted to acknowledge that, even to yourself. That you really need a deeper connection. And I think this is really about people. I don't think, I mean, maybe there's things here about committing to, you know, like starting your own business is, right, like getting skin in the game. That is true. But I feel that this is largely about people. It could be that if you have your own business that you need to hire people. Right? There's something about being in relationship and being vulnerable and being open and really becoming interdependent with others. But things are lining up. And in fact, they are really lining up. We have this double lineup. Now, I don't know what this means. It could be astrological. These are planets in these cards. There may be some transit that's occurring for you. There has been this Mercury retrograde. He's now moving forward through Sagittarius. He re-enters Capricorn on the 13th of this month. Venus is also passing through your sign currently. Pluto is about to enter Aquarius, where he will sextile Sagittarius. So there are astrological things. Next year, kind of, I want to say at the end of May-ish, Jupiter will enter Gemini. And Jupiter is your guide, and he's going to be moving opposite you through Gemini. So there are astrological things, but it can also be, personal, where your head is at, what you've come to and experienced in your life, what you've been attempting to manifest in your life is now kind of coming to fruition, and it is asking of you that in order to really bring this thing into being, you need to take this step. And the Four of Cups lies beneath, right? And so the offer is being made. The bottom of this deck has this lost girl, right, standing on the outside, but then the Page of Swords, hearing, right, the lost girl hearing the call to come and join the group for real. So we have the Queen of Cups, all of the feelings, perhaps in ways that you have never experienced before. Perhaps really allowing yourself to become immersed, to be fully empathetic. One definition of love is taking another person as part of yourself. So that means that whenever you make a decision or choice, you consider the other person's interests as equal to your own. Now, that doesn't mean that you always, take their side or do what they want. It just means that you consider their best interests equal to your best interests, and that you are very willing, right, to look for win-win situations rather than compromises. That you really, feel that, right, that they are, right, you're taking them as part of yourself. Oh, the drilling. And then we have the fates. Fortune coming through again. And I mentioned, I think, in readings, and I'll say it again, is that I'm running into a lot of repeats. Like there's an uptick in emphasis. Either numbers repeating, right? We have several fours showing up. The Four of Earth coming out twice, plus the Four of Fire. There's 2 10s plus Fortune 10 plus this wheel, a fourth 10 coming out. There's the sort of transformation coming out twice. There is a real emphasis in here on this being part of your plan, something you part of the pre-plan before your wider self entered this life. And you can call it fate. And then with this Nine of Wands, there's this sense of you right, crossing a barrier, right? You've gone through a gate, coming in from the cold, and you're, you know, maybe you're a little, right, this is the Nine of Wands, you're a little wary. Maybe you're more tired than you realized. Maybe some of the good time that you've been having has hidden some of the exhaustion that you feel from going it alone for so long. And then the Six of Swords, right? Moving into a whole new headspace. So what is the advice here? Maybe some of it, right? The drilling continues below me. And I think it'll probably still be audible after I've reduced the background noise in the video. So what do you, right, going forward, regardless of what the chattering in the background has to say? And so we have the Empress. Thinking creationally rather than, actually the Eight of Cups is below that. So not, right, not thinking about what might be lost, what might have to be sacrificed. And the Emperor actually is here too. Oh, look, and I just saw it, the Lovers. So what is to be gained rather than what is to be lost? Focusing on what is to be gained rather than lost. And the Five of Cups repeats. Coming out again. Perspective. And here too with the Three of Wands. All right, and this Three of Wands is not a lone one. There's all these, all right, there's all these other souls here with you. So, right, joining the others with the Three of Wands. And then with this Knight of Cups, and then the Ace of Cups. Right? Minding your heart, minding this emotional space. Right? We have this dude here, and I think perhaps his cup is empty because he's been drinking alone for so long that his cup is empty. But now you're going to refill your cup. Refilling your cup both through your connection to your wider self and to source, and also through connection to others. Allow your cup to be refilled. And then we have the Two of Wands. And interestingly, I actually feel like this Two of Wands is more about ready to move than the Three. Right? This Three feels more like the looking out vision, right? Because you're here, there's a, right, you're kind of on a cliff. Right, when you're ready, you have to kind of turn around and go down the mountain. Whereas here, you're just ready to go. This beast that is part of you can just leap from here and go forward. So you're going off the map, Sagittarius. You are stepping up into this sacred circle, into this truly into community, right? That is often what happens at sacred circles, right? A tribe or a group, a village, a community gets together to have a celebration, a ritual at the stone circle. So you are going to get skin in the game Sagittarius. And the key to not feeling like this is to focus on what you gain rather than on anything that you do have to give up. And you also may not have to give things up quite so extremely. Right? Like in my case, it's not like I can never take a vacation again. I just need to plan for it a little bit in advance so someone can come and feed my cat and spend time with him. Right? It's not, I don't, have to totally give that up. There's just a little bit more logistical arrangement that has to happen. So you may also think about that. Do you think that you will never do X again if you do this, right? If you, maybe really commit to a relationship, or you decide to have children, or, maybe you get a roommate or you move in with somebody, right? Whatever it is, what do you think you're going to have to give up? And maybe it isn't really true. And if you focus more on what you gain, some of that may become really clear for you. And you may enter this, right, this really new heart-based space where you're just really ready to go. I wish you all the very, very best, Sagittarius. And I think that, once you take that step, all of your fears are going to disappear, and you'll be very glad that you came in from the cold. I wish you the very, very best, Sagittarius, and I'll see you next time. So long.